Don't touch the human. I'll buy him myself, said the alien girl. Jace Orion pushed the ore cart up broken rails in the sulfur tunnels of Morix. 12 hours on shift. No breaks. The air tasted like metal and smoke. Lamps buzzed and threw long, shaking shadows on the rock. His wrists were raw where the shackles rubbed. He kept his eyes down and his mind sharp. Count exits. Count guards. Count chances. Survive now. Strike later. Faster, feral, hissed Overseer Vark. His turquoise skin gleamed with sweat. The shock staff in his hand crackled blue. Quotas doubled. Jace said nothing. 6 months here had taught him the 2 rules. Talk little, watch everything. He leaned harder into the cart. Stone bit his boots. His back burned. His heart stayed calm. What is it, human? Too weak. Vark's lipless grin widened. We should have kept the soft ones from your ship. The females. The words cut like wire. The cart squealed as Jace stopped. He turned slowly. His gaze met Vark's. Quiet fire. No panic. Only the line between control and violence. Say that again, he said, low and even. Nearby workers slipped away into shadow. They knew the storm that voice carried. 2 guards rushed in with crackling batons. Jace moved before thought. He drove his forehead into the first guard's face. Bone popped. The second guard caught an elbow to the throat sack and folded with a dry wheeze. Jace pivoted, feet set, shoulders square. Blood ticked down his brow. He did not blink. Enough. Vark fired a bolt that chewed a glowing hole in the rock beside Jace. On your knees, or I break your legs. Pulse pistol. Point blank. Jace weighed distance, angle, timing. He could take more guards. He could not dodge a clean shot to the knee. He sank to one knee, slow and deliberate. His eyes stayed on Vark's. They were steady. They promised a future. Better, Vark purred, stepping close. Time to teach the line what happens when. What exactly is happening here? The new voice sliced the air. Every head turned. At the tunnel mouth stood a tall woman in dark formal wear with white cuffs that somehow had no dust on them. Her skin was storm blue, faintly lit from within. Her eyes were violet, cool and curious. She looked like she owned the light. Commissioner Lyra in, Vark stammered, staff dipping. Routine discipline. The human attacked my men. Lyra's gaze slid over the groaning guards, then rested on Jace. He was on one knee, but the posture was not surrender. It was a coil. Interest flickered behind her calm face. And what did you say to provoke him? Vark opened his mouth. Closed it. No sound came. Lyra walked closer. Dust did not cling to her. She moved like a precise machine built for grace. She circled Jace as if measuring distance to a star. Vark twitched, ready to strike Jace again. Don't touch the human male, Lyra said without looking. I will purchase him. The tunnel murmured. Miners traded wide eyes. Guards shifted. Jace felt the chain change shape around his neck. From prisoner to property. Was that better? He did not know. He kept very still. Commissioner, this one is trouble, Vark said quickly. He breaks tools. He breaks bones. He costs me time. Lyra's lips hinted at a smile. Call him savage if you wish. I will find a better use. She held out a silver credit tag. Name your price. Vark named a heavy number to punish and test. Lyra did not blink. The tag hummed. Transaction done. Remove his shackles, she said. Locks clicked. Metal fell. Pain flared along Jace's wrists and then cooled. He rubbed the raw skin, eyes on Lyra. She had changed his cage with 10 words and 1 tag. Why? Stand, she said. The word was iron wrapped in silk. He stood. He was taller than her, but it did not feel like he was. Their eyes held. His carried heat and warning. Hers carried thought and a strange warmth he did not expect to see in this place. Name, she asked. Jace Orion. Well, Jace Orion, she said, softer now. Your day improves. Walk with me. They walked past the watching line. Some faces showed envy. Some showed relief. 1 or 2 showed tiny smiles. The sky outside was a dirty bruise. Lyra's sleek transport floated on quiet fields. Inside, the seat shaped itself to Jace's back. The air smelled like citrus and clean metal. You smell like a refinery, Lyra said, matter of fact. 6 months. 1 water ration a week, Jace answered. Humans use soap when allowed. Her laugh sounded like glass wind chimes. Adaptable humor. Noted. The transport slid through smokestacks toward a single bright spire that cut the haze. It was all smooth lines and pale silver, like a knife made to heal instead of hurt. "Welcome to the Alice Embassy," Lyra said as they touched down. "You're home, for now." Inside was warm and odd and kind. Furniture had strange angles, but invited rest. A decantam chamber sighed cool mist that ate grime like fire eats paper. Jace stepped out 20 minutes later in clean, neutral clothes that actually fit a human body. Lyra's eyes flicked over him again, this time like a scientist and like something else. "Better," she said. "Is your musculature natural?" "Natural," Jace said. "Military engineer. Training is routine. On my world, brute strength is seen as primitive," she said. "We value mind and language." She looked at him. "And yet I bought a primitive." "You bought a problem you want to understand," Jace said. "Why me?" Lyra tapped a clear tablet. Stars flowed across the wall. "Politics," she said. "Your ship was not scheduled for contact. Raiders broke law. The Concord argues. Some say you are dangerous. Some say you are precious. I say you are unknown. Unknowns matter." "If I say no," he asked. "I return you to the mine," she said, steady as stone. Silence. Then Jace nodded once. "Not much of a choice." "More than you had this morning," she said. She opened a cabinet and poured a faint, glowing drink. "A custom we share with humans, to new beginnings?" Their fingers brushed as he took the glass. A small shock leapt skin to skin. "To understanding," he said. The drink burned warm and sweet, like honey caught on lightning. Heat spread in his chest. The corners of his mouth remembered how to rise. 3 days later, as Jace used 2 cups and a piece of fruit to explain Earth soccer, the wall sang a harsh tone. "Commissioner Lyra, in," the system said. "Ambassador Vesk of the Vexel Consortium demands immediate audience." Lyra's color cooled. "Vesk," she said. "Collector." The door slid open. A tall figure entered like a blade wrapped in silk. Obsidian skin swallowed light. Amber eyes gleamed. His crimson coat wore trophies from 100 worlds. "Commissioner," he purred. His gaze found Jace and brightened with hunger. So the whisper was true. "You have a human." Jace stood, shoulders loose, breath calm. Every instinct screamed, predator. "This is Jace Orion," Lyra said, cool. "Cultural consultant from Earth." Vesk laughed, sharp as breaking glass. "Call a cage a gallery, call the animal a guest." "Charming." He circled Jace. "Magnificent build. Primitive. Useful." He turned to Lyra. "Triple the price." "Not for sale," Lyra said. 5 times. "No. I'm standing right here," Jace said, voice flat. "It speaks," Vesk said, amused. Then to Lyra. "A game. 3 trials. If you win, you keep him and receive my intelligence on the other humans. If I win, he joins my collection. I share the intelligence anyway. I am generous." Lyra met Jace's eye. He gave a tiny nod. She faced Vesk. "I set the first 2 trials. You set the last." "Agreed," Vesk said, already smiling. "Tomorrow." He left. Silence stayed like smoke. "Whatever this is," Jace said quietly, "we finished together." Lyra nodded once. Together. The next day came too fast. Jace stood before a mirror that wasn't made of glass, but of shimmering light. The reflection looking back at him hardly felt human. The iridescent formal suit Lyra had given him changed color when he moved, shifting from silver to deep blue. The high collar sat stiff against his neck. Every symbol woven into the fabric carried meaning he didn't understand. He frowned. "You want me to wear this?" Lyra stood behind him, her reflection calm, amused. She was dressed in a midnight gown that caught the room's soft glow and returned it like starlight. "Yes. The first challenge begins tonight at the Galactic Council Gala. You'll need to look the part." "I thought I'd be fighting monsters or solving puzzles," Jace muttered. "Not attending a party." "That's exactly what Vesk expects. A show of violence or strength," Lyra said, stepping closer to adjust the suit's collar. "He wants to prove that humans are uncivilized brutes. So, we will fight on a battlefield he doesn't understand." "Diplomacy," Jace guessed. "Exactly," Lyra said, smiling slightly. "At the gala, every word is a weapon, every gesture a test. Show them your mind, not your fists." Jace nodded, though unease churned inside him. He had faced alien beasts and collapsing tunnels. But polite conversation with 6 different species? That was new. The gala was held in the upper levels of the Concord Tower, beneath a dome that looked out into the endless black of space. Dozens of alien races mingled under floating lights that pulsed with soft colors matching their moods. Music hummed through the air, a sound made from vibrations that tickled the skin more than the ears. Lyra's presence drew immediate attention. Whispers followed her. But when eyes turned toward Jace, the human beside her, those whispers turned sharp. Curious, fearful, mocking. "Remember," Lyra whispered as they entered, "don't hold eye contact with Terusians. Compliment the color shifts of Maldorians. And under no circumstance refuse food. It's a grave insult." "Got it," Jace said. "Don't punch anyone. Eat everything." "That's close enough." Then, like a shadow forming from thin air, Vesk appeared. His crimson uniform shimmered with reflected light. His amber eyes gleamed with confidence. "Commissioner Lyra," he said, performing an elegant bow. "And you're human." "Ambassador Vesk," Lyra said, matching his formality. "Jace Orion, cultural consultant from Earth." Vesk's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Cultural consultant? How adorable. Tell me, human, have you learned to use a fork yet?" Jace smiled back. "I prefer my food cooked first, but I can adapt." A few nearby diplomats chuckled. Vesk's grin faltered. "Come," Lyra said smoothly. "Let's enjoy the evening." Over the next hour, Jace walked through the grand chamber beside Lyra, meeting creatures with wings, scales, or shifting colors instead of faces. Each conversation felt like a puzzle. A Maldorian diplomat's skin flashed orange as Jace complimented the warmth of their emotional aura. A Terusian merchant grunted approval when he praised the efficiency of their mining methods, though Jace avoided mentioning his experience in the mines. He was careful, observant, every movement measured. Lyra watched him out of the corner of her eye, quietly impressed. He wasn't just surviving. He was learning. But Vesk was waiting, always watching. The trap came when a servant offered a tray filled with wriggling, translucent creatures. "Galleon sky grubs," Vesk announced loudly, his voice carrying through the crowd. "A delicacy, though some species find them difficult." Every eye turned to Jace. Refuse, and he'd insult half the room. Eat them, and he'd look like a savage doing it. Exactly the kind of corner Vesk loved. Jace's mind flicked back to survival training. The trick to fear wasn't avoidance, it was owning it. He gave a polite nod, took one of the still-moving grubs, and swallowed it whole. The texture was revolting, rubbery, cold, alive, but he kept his expression calm. "Interesting flavor," he said thoughtfully. "A little like Earth sea urchins, just with more personality." The room rippled with laughter. A few Maldorians even applauded. Vesk's smile tightened. "Well played," Lyra murmured beside him. Vesk leaned forward. "Tell me, human," he said loudly. "Your species is known for war, yes? Constant fighting? Killing your own kind?" Jace could feel every gaze land on him again. He met Vesk's stare calmly. "Yes, we've made mistakes," he said. "But through conflict, we learned peace. Through struggle, we learned empathy. Survival isn't about dominance, it's about connection." Silence fell. Then, slowly, a Maldorian elder's skin shimmered blue-green, their color for respect. "Wisdom beyond his years," they said softly. Lyra's smile was faint but real. "Perhaps humanity has more to teach us than we thought." Vesk's jaw flexed, but he said nothing. For the first time, the predator had no words. Later, when the crowd had dispersed into smaller groups, Lyra found Jace standing by the crystal balcony overlooking the city lights below. "You handled yourself well," she said quietly. He looked out over the glowing skyline. "Just did what humans do best. Pretend we belong until we actually do." She smiled at that, stepping closer. "You've done more than pretend. You've changed how they see you." He turned, meeting her violet eyes. "And you? How do you see me?" Her lips curved slightly. "As an unpredictable variable. Dangerous. Fascinating." They stood in silence for a heartbeat too long. The air between them was charged, full of things neither dared to say. Then Vesk's voice sliced through it. "How touching," he said, appearing again. "The commissioner and her pet. Enjoy your victory, human. Tomorrow's test won't be so polite." He turned and walked away, his smile promising chaos. Jace exhaled slowly. "Guess the easy round's over." Lyra nodded. Her eyes held pride and worry. The next challenge will be his arena. "Whatever happens, remember this, humans adapt. That's your greatest weapon." Jace looked at her and gave a small, steady nod. Then let's see what happens when he takes the leash off. Part 2 ends with the camera pulling back. Vesk's ship hovering outside the city like a crimson shadow, its lights blinking in the dark, preparing for the second trial. The next morning began with silence. Too quiet, too clean, too calm. Jace Orion sat inside Lyra's transport, watching as the city faded into clouds of orange smog. Ahead, the horizon burned with crimson light, and there, on a plateau surrounded by storm fields, stood Vesk's private compound. It looked nothing like the shining towers of the Concord. This was a fortress. Black walls, razor spires, energy shields that shimmered faintly in the heat. Black walls, razor spires, energy shields that shimmered faintly in the heat. Every inch screamed danger. Lyra sat across from him, her posture straight but her jaw tight. Vesk built this place himself, she said. Half laboratory, half arena. He calls it the Dome of Proof. Every species he studies faces its own trial here. Jace glanced at her. And what's mine supposed to prove? That you're less than he is, Lyra said bitterly. He wants to show the Concord that humans are nothing but animals with tools. Jace's lips curved into a hard smile. Then he picked the wrong animal. The transport landed with a heavy thud. As the ramp lowered, waves of heat rolled in. The air smelled of rust, ozone, and blood. Vesk stood waiting, his crimson coat brighter than the dust sky behind him. 2 reptilian guards flanked him, their scaled bodies gleaming with armor plates and multiple arms gripping shock blades. Commissioner Lyra, Vesk greeted smoothly. Human. He smiled like a knife. Welcome to my little theater. Jace's hands itched to curl into fists, but he stayed calm. Let's skip the showmanship, Vesk. What's the challenge? Vesk's amber eyes sparkled. Impatient. Typical human. Very well. He gestured toward a massive transparent dome that loomed behind him, its surface rippling faintly with energy. Today's trial tests 2 things your kind claims to possess: survival and compassion. He pressed a control on his wrist. The dome's walls turned transparent, revealing a sprawling jungle inside, green, purple, and silver plants twisting like snakes under a dark red sky. Everything looked alive. Everything looked hungry. This is a simulation of the death forests of Nethra Prime, Vesk said proudly. Every plant is predatory. The air contains toxins. The soil itself is dangerous. You will be placed inside for 1 hour. Jace crossed his arms. That's it. Survive an hour. Vesk's grin widened. Not exactly. He raised a small containment unit, a glass sphere pulsing with soft light. Inside floated a trembling, cloud-like creature with tiny eyes and a faint musical hum. This, Vesk said, is a Lemurian wisp. Fragile, sensitive to heat, cold, and fear. If it dies, you fail. Jace frowned. You want me to protect that thing? In there? Yes, Vesk said simply. A test of survival and empathy. 2 traits you humans claim make you special. If you can keep it alive for 60 standard minutes, you win. Lyra stepped forward. This is excessive. That habitat kills most species within minutes. Then perhaps your pet will die proving a point, Vesk said coldly. Or live proving another. Shall we begin? Jace looked at Lyra. She didn't speak, but her eyes said everything. Be careful. He gave a small nod, took the containment unit, and stepped toward the dome's entrance. As the airlock sealed behind him, her voice echoed faintly over the calm. Remember, the wisp calms itself through sound. Keep it near you. Keep it safe. Then the world went silent, and the jungle breathed. The first thing that hit him was the heat. Over 100 degrees and climbing. The second was the smell, sweet and rotten, like a compost heap left under lightning. The ground pulsed faintly beneath his boots, alive with small movements. The wisp floated beside him, trembling, its glow dimmer. Hey, little one, Jace murmured. Stay close, all right? We're getting out of this together. The wisp let out a soft, melodic tone. The sound steadied him more than he cared to admit. He moved fast, scanning terrain. Training took over. Look for water, shade, cover. The vines hanging from the trees glistened like wet ropes. But when one brushed his sleeve, it hissed, releasing a puff of acidic vapor that ate through fabric instantly. Jace cursed, stepping back. Okay, rule 1, he muttered. Don't touch anything that moves first. From the control room high above, Vesk watched with folded arms. Fascinating, he murmured. Primitive instincts. But useful. Lyra stood behind him, her face unreadable. You're gambling with a sentient life. Vesk smirked. I'm observing science. Minutes passed. Jace found a hollow beneath a large root system and used it to create a crude shelter. He tore strips from his shirt to wrap around his mouth and nose. The wisp hovered close, its hum soft and nervous. You're not a fighter, are you? Jace said quietly. That's all right. I've got you covered. Then the jungle roared. The sound was deep, shaking the ground. Branches shuddered. Leaves fell like rain. The wisp shrieked, a high, chiming tone. And then Jace saw it. The creature that emerged from the mist was monstrous, a six-limbed predator with armored skin, claws like scythes, and a tail that dripped glowing venom. Its eyes were the same color as molten iron. Perfect, Jace whispered. You're the welcoming committee. He ran, not in panic, but with purpose. He needed space, line of sight, options. The creature lunged, smashing through trees like paper. Jace ducked beneath a low branch and rolled into a cluster of thick vines, using the terrain to buy seconds. The wisp clung to his shoulder, its glow pulsing in sync with his heartbeat. From above, Lyra clenched her fists. End this, Vesk. You'll kill him. Vesk only smiled. He volunteered. Jace grabbed a handful of thick seed pods hanging from a tree. They were heavy, sticky with sap. He slung his shirt into strips, twisted the fabric, and made a crude sling. Come on, beast, he muttered. Let's see if physics works on your planet. The stalker appeared again, pushing through the brush, hissing. Jace swung the sling and fired. The seed pod struck the creature square in the eyes, exploding in a puff of white spores. The predator screeched, clawing at its face, blinded for a moment. Jace didn't wait. He sprinted through the undergrowth, found a hollow log, and ducked inside, breathing hard. The wisp floated close to his cheek, humming softly, as if trying to calm him. Thanks, Jace whispered. But keep quiet. We're not safe yet. He tore bark from the walls of the log, using it to seal the entrance. He pressed his ear against the side. The ground trembled with the creature's footsteps, then slowly faded. He checked the timer on the dome's edge. 40 minutes down. 20 to go. He let himself breathe. Just a little. But then the hum of machinery filled the air. Jace frowned. What now? A small section of the jungle flickered and vanished. The ground beneath him shimmered, then shifted, revealing a smooth metallic panel hidden under the dirt. The wisp floated toward it, glowing brighter, circling. What is it? Jace asked, crawling forward. The wisp pressed its tiny form against a crack in the panel. The metal responded with a hiss, sliding open to reveal a narrow passage lit by blue light. Jace hesitated, then followed. The air changed, cleaner, colder. The passage ended in a chamber filled with glass pods. And inside 3 of them were humans. Commander Reyes, Lieutenant Mira, Park. Jace breathed. You're alive. The pods hummed softly, their occupants asleep but breathing. The wisp hovered beside the controls, its glow pulsing rhythmically. In the control room, alarms blared. Vesk slammed his claws against the console. He's found the collection vault. Lyra's eyes widened. You have human prisoners here? Vesk turned toward her, teeth bared. They're mine. Specimens. You didn't think I'd let Earth's secrets vanish, did you? Lyra's voice was sharp as steel. You're finished. She slammed her hand against the emergency override. Concord Command. This is Commissioner Lyra. I'm transmitting proof of Ambassador Vesk's illegal sentient trafficking. Lock his channels and dispatch security immediately. Vesk lunged toward her, but she was faster, sealing the room behind her as she escaped down the side corridor. Inside the dome, Jace heard her voice echo faintly through a hidden comm. Jace, listen carefully. Drones are coming. Get your crew and head for the service exit. Emergency code 739 Alpha. Jace entered the code on the nearest panel. The pods hissed open one by one. His commander gasped awake, dazed. Orion? How? No time, Jace said, hauling her to her feet. We're getting out. The wisp darted ahead, lighting their path. Behind them, the jungle shook as the predator roared again, released one last time by Vesk's failing systems. Move, Jace shouted. They sprinted through the tunnel, alarms wailing, fire lights flashing red across the walls. Behind them, the death dome began to collapse. When they burst into the open air, Lyra was there, calling them toward her transport. Hurry, she shouted. As they climbed aboard, Jace turned once, watching the dome crack apart and fall inward, the predator swallowed by flames. He looked at the small, glowing wisp hovering near his shoulder. "Good job, little one," he whispered. "Let's go home." The transport lifted off into the crimson dawn, streaking toward the sky, while explosions lit the desert below. Vesk's fortress burned, his experiment undone by the very creature he thought he could cage. And for the first time, Jace realized something. The galaxy didn't just fear humans for their strength. It feared what happened when they fought for something instead of against it. The sky over Morix, 9 burned red as the transport cut through it, engines screaming. Smoke trails twisted in their wake, and the horizon glowed with the fire of Vesk's collapsing fortress. Inside the ship, silence hung heavy, broken only by the hum of the engines and the faint musical tone of the Lemurian wisp hovering beside Jace's shoulder. Commander Reyes sat across from him, pale and exhausted. 6 months, she whispered, staring out the window. "I thought we were dead." Jace glanced at her, his voice steady but low. "We almost were. Vesk had you in stasis. Some kind of collector's vault." Lyra, seated at the pilot's console, didn't look back. "He's been doing this for years," she said. "Humans. Other species. Anything rare. Anything valuable. The Concord forbids collecting sentient life, but Vesk hides behind diplomatic immunity." "Not anymore," Jace said. His knuckles were white against his seat's armrest. "You sent the transmission?" Lyra nodded once. "The Galactic Council received the data logs. Every record. Every specimen he's stolen. But it will take time for them to act. Vesk has friends in high places." Jace leaned forward. "Then we can't wait for them." Lyra's violet eyes flicked toward him. "What do you mean?" "We hit him first," Jace said. "He still has more humans, maybe dozens. We can't leave them." Reyes frowned. "Jace, we're barely holding together. We need rest, medical treatment. And they need rescuing," Jace cut in. "You'd want someone to come back for you." Silence filled the cabin. Even the wisp's hum dimmed. Lyra studied him quietly, something unreadable flickering behind her calm expression. "Finally," she said softly, "there's one place we can regroup. My sanctuary." She entered new coordinates. The ship angled upward, climbing through the last layers of polluted air before breaking into the stars. The journey was long, but it gave Jace time to think. He stared out the viewport, watching the galaxy spin past. Bright stars, endless dark. Every one of them held life, danger, and stories like his. But tonight, all he felt was the quiet weight of survival. Lyra moved silently through the cabin, adjusting controls, checking on the recovered humans. She had changed out of her formal uniform into a simple flight suit. Without the layers of politics, she looked more real, more human somehow. "You haven't stopped since the dome," she said, stopping beside him. "You need rest." Jace gave a tired smile. "You sound like my old captain." "I read her file," Lyra said softly. "Captain Irene Caldwell. You're her son." His head turned sharply. "You accessed Earth records?" "I had to understand you," Lyra said simply. "You humans hide your pain behind defiance. It's remarkable." Jace looked away, jaw tight. "Pain keeps us alive." "Sometimes," she said, voice gentle. "Sometimes it just stops us from healing." Before he could answer, the navigation alarm pinged. Lyra returned to the controls. "We're here." From the outside, it looked like an asteroid, gray, dead, drifting through the void. But as they approached, hidden panels slid aside, revealing glowing landing bays and a faint energy field surrounding the rock. "Welcome to Sanctuary," Lyra said. "My private station. Off-grid, hidden from every Concord sensor." The ship touched down inside the hangar. The walls were carved stone mixed with sleek alien metal. Vines grew in long, narrow gardens along the walls, glowing faintly with bioluminescent light. The air was clean and cool. "This is beautiful," Commander Reyes said quietly. Lyra smiled. "It was once a mining base. I repurposed it for something better, safety." As they disembarked, Jace followed Lyra through a wide corridor into the main chamber. Screens glowed with maps and coded transmissions. "You build all this?" he asked. "Piece by piece," she said. "A place for those the Concord forgets. Refugees, outcasts, species caught between politics and war." Jace stopped beside her. "And now, it's our only shot at saving the rest." Lyra met his eyes. "The Council will come. When they do, we'll expose Vesk to every system in the galaxy." He'll come before that, Jace said. You know it. Lyra hesitated, then nodded. Yes, he won't accept defeat, especially not from a human. Hours later, the others slept, but Jace stayed awake, standing on the observation deck. The stars stretched endless before him. The wisp floated quietly nearby, glowing with soft golden light. You could have escaped, he said softly to it. You didn't have to help me. The wisp answered with a melodic tone, like a child's song. It hovered close, brushing against his arm like a tiny living spark. You saved me too, Jace said. Guess that makes us even. Behind him, soft footsteps echoed. Lyra joined him, arms folded behind her back. The wisp has bonded to you, she said. It's rare. Lemurians only connect to those they trust completely. Jace smiled faintly. Guess I'm not all bad. No, she said. You're dangerous in the right way. He looked at her, really looked. The cool distance she always carried was gone. There was warmth in her eyes now, a flicker of something neither of them dared name. Lyra, he began, but before he could finish, alarms blared. Red light flooded the chamber. A voice crackled through the intercom. Unidentified ships emerging from warp near the outer field. Lyra rushed to the console, eyes widening as data filled the screen. It's him, she said. Vesk. Jace moved to her side. He found us. 3 crimson ships appeared on the monitor, Vesk's insignia blazing across their hulls. Energy signatures spiked. He hadn't come alone. He's not here to talk, Lyra said grimly. He's here to finish it. Jace's jaw tightened. Then we finish it first. Outside, Vesk's fleet formed a ring around the asteroid. His voice came through the comms, smooth as poison. Commissioner Lyra. Human. You have something that belongs to me. Jace stepped forward. You mean the people you kidnapped? You mean my collection? Vesk replied. You've made a mess, but I'm generous. Surrender yourselves, and I might spare the others. Lyra's hand hovered over the transmit control. Vesk, she said coldly, you are finished. The council knows everything. He laughed, a sound like breaking glass. The council? Please. Bureaucrats move slower than gravity. You'll be dead long before they decide what law I've broken. The comm cut off. Jace turned to Lyra. He's right. He'll strike before help arrives. Then we make sure he regrets it, Lyra said, her voice steady. We have defense drones, energy barriers, and the Wisp's energy field. But they won't hold forever. Then we use them long enough to get the others to safety, Jace said. Lyra looked at him. You'd stay? If it means saving the crew, Jace said. Yeah. For a heartbeat. Her calm mask cracked. She stepped closer, her voice quiet. You are the most infuriating creature I have ever met. Jace smirked. You're welcome. Their eyes locked. Defiance against fear, courage against odds. Then the ship trembled. The first blast hit the shields. Lyra straightened. Positions. All of you. Jace turned to the glowing wisp, its light flickering urgently. Stay close, little one, he murmured. Looks like the game's not over. The asteroid shuddered again under the force of another impact. Outside, the void flared with streaks of red plasma. Vesk's fleet closed in, predators circling wounded prey. Inside, humanity and an alien stood side by side, ready to fight back. The first blast shook the asteroid to its core. Ceiling lights flickered, dust rained from the stone ceiling, and alarms screamed across the sanctuary. Commander Reyes grabbed the nearest railing as the deck shuddered again. Shields are dropping fast, she shouted. 2 more hits like that, and we're exposed. Lyra's hands flew across the defense console, her voice calm but sharp. Redirect power from the hydroponic systems. Seal the inner chambers. All civilians stay in the lower tunnels. Jace braced himself against the console beside her, eyes on the tactical display. 3 crimson ships circled the asteroid like vultures. Vesk's fleet. Their plasma weapons painted the darkness red. He's not here to scare us, Jace muttered. He's here to erase us. Lyra nodded grimly. He knows the council will intervene soon. He wants to destroy all evidence before they arrive. The wisp hovered near Jace's shoulder, glowing anxiously. The air crackled faintly around it. Jace watched the little creature pulse brighter each time a blast hit the shields. You feel that too, huh? He said softly. The wisp emitted a low, melodic tone, half warning, half comfort. Another explosion rocked the station. Commander Reyes yelled from across the room. Shield integrity at 32%. We can't outgun them, Jace. Lyra's violet eyes flashed as she turned toward him. He's forcing us into the final challenge. The hunt, Jace said, remembering Vesk's promise. He wants me. Alive. Then we use that, Lyra said quickly. Her mind raced, already forming a plan. If he wants you, we give him what he expects, but not how he expects it. Jace frowned. You mean bait? I mean infiltration, Lyra corrected. His ships are shielded against most attacks, but if we can disable their command vessel from the inside, the others will fall back. His control systems are centralized. He trusts only himself. Reyes looked between them. That's suicide. Jace straightened. Not if I take the wisp with me. It can disrupt energy fields, right? Lyra's gaze snapped to the glowing creature, realization dawning. The wisp manipulates frequency harmonics. If it gets close to Vesk's power core, it could destabilize the entire ship's control grid. It's our only shot, Jace said. You get the others clear while I handle Vesk. Lyra's tone hardened. I'm not leaving you to face him alone. Then come with me, Jace said. But you know what happens if this fails. He'll kill everyone here. Silence hung heavy between them. The deck shook again. Tom was running out. Finally, Lyra exhaled. All right, we go together. The docking bay doors creaked open, releasing the small stealth shuttle into the cold black of space. It was barely larger than a fighter, armed with a single pulse cannon and hope. Jay sat in the co-pilot seat, helmet sealed, heart steady. Lyra piloted with precise control, her face lit by shifting red light from the battle outside. Behind them, the wisp floated in its containment cradle, humming low, its glow pulsing like a heartbeat. Vesk's flagship is locking on, Lyra said. He thinks we're trying to flee. Good, Jace muttered. Let him take the bait. They weaved between blasts, the shuttle's hull shuddering under the pressure of near misses. Plasma flares streaked past like meteors. The asteroid grew smaller behind them. Ahead, the command vessel loomed, sleek, predatory, and pulsing with red energy. Engaging approach vector, Lyra said. Hold tight. The shuttle dove through a storm of weapons fire, engines screaming. Jace's hands gripped the controls, guiding power to the forward thrusters. They spun through the chaos, narrowly avoiding a missile that burst past their tail. Lock on their docking bay. Jace barked. Lyra's fingers danced over the controls. Now, the shuttle slammed into the flagship's lower hangar with a violent crash. Metal screamed. The world spun. For a heartbeat, everything went silent. Jace unstrapped himself first, grabbing his rifle. We're in. Let's move. Lyra stood beside him, drawing her sidearm. Stay close to the wisp. If Vesk senses it, he'll kill us both. The hatch hissed open, revealing the cold, sterile corridors of the flagship. Red lights pulsed like a heartbeat through the ship. Every sound echoed. Footsteps, alarms, the faint hum of machinery. They moved fast, sticking to the shadows. The wisp glowed dimly, barely visible. Jace's breath fogged his visor. He could hear his own pulse in his ears. Security drones up ahead, Lyra whispered. Jace nodded. I'll take left. They struck in sync. Jace's rifle cracked, and Lyra's pulse pistol hummed. Sparks filled the air as two drones fell smoking to the floor. The wisp hovered over their remains, releasing a soft tone that silenced their alarms. Lyra looked at Jace. You adapt faster than anyone I've ever met. Humans are good at improvising, he said with a grin. Usually when everything's on fire. She almost smiled, then froze as a deep, familiar voice filled the corridor. So predictable, Vesk said, stepping from the shadows. His amber eyes glowed in the red light, his voice dripping with mock pity. You bring your pet to me willingly. Lyra raised her pistol. It's over, Vesk. The council knows everything. He laughed, spreading his clawed hands. And yet here I stand. They won't act before I destroy the evidence. And you. He drew a curved energy blade that hummed with power. I gave you a chance to surrender, human. Now I'll take what's mine. Jace stepped forward, calm but unyielding. You've been hunting the wrong prey. The wisp pulsed brighter behind him. Energy rippled through the corridor. Vesk sneered, stepping closer. A light trick? Pathetic. But the lights above them flickered. The walls vibrated. Systems across the ship began to spark as the wisp's hum deepened into a resonant chord that made the air itself tremble. Lyra's eyes widened. It's destabilizing his core systems. Vesk roared, lunging forward. Jace met him head-on. Their blades clashed, metal against energy. Sparks flew. Vesk swung with brutal precision, but Jace ducked low, countering with a quick strike to the alien's side. The impact made Vesk snarl, his eyes blazing. "You think you can win?" he hissed. "You're a primitive animal." Jace gritted his teeth. "Maybe, but I'm a fast learner." He slammed his elbow into Vesk's chest, driving him back into a sparking console. Electricity arced up his arm, sending a sharp jolt through both of them. Vesk staggered. The wisp's glow reached a blinding peak, its melody rising into a piercing crescendo. Lyra shouted, "Jace, the core is overloading. We have to go." Jace glanced at Vesk, stunned, furious, alive. He could end it right there. One strike. One kill. Instead, he stepped back. "You're not worth it." Vesk's eyes widened in disbelief. "You what?" "Humans don't win by destroying everything," Jace said. "We win by changing it." He turned, grabbed Lyra's arm, and ran. The wisp followed, trailing streams of golden light. Behind them, alarms blared louder than before. The flagship shook violently as explosions erupted from deep within its core. They reached the hangar just as the ship began to break apart. Lyra launched the shuttle, engines screaming as fire chased them out into space. The flagship erupted behind them, scattering debris like dying stars. Jace sat back, chest heaving, sweat streaking his face. The wisp floated between them, its glow soft and steady again. Lyra looked at him, her expression unreadable. "You let him live." Jace nodded slowly. He already lost. Outside, the wreckage of Vesk's fleet burned silently against the stars. The council ships were just arriving, too late to save the battle, but in time to witness who had survived it. Lyra's voice softened. "You just gave humanity something the galaxy has never seen before." Jace looked at the stars. "A reason to believe we belong here." The council ships surrounded the debris field like silent watchers. Burned metal and shattered glass drifted among the stars, glowing faintly in the light of a nearby sun. The wreckage of Vesk's flagship was scattered across the void, but no one relaxed. Not yet. Not until they were sure he was truly gone. Inside the small shuttle, Jace sat strapped in beside Lyra, breathing hard. The wisp floated quietly near the cockpit, its glow pulsing weakly, drained after the overload that had destroyed the enemy's power core. Commander Reyes and two other humans sat in the back, silent, eyes wide with the stunned look of survivors who weren't yet sure they had survived. Lyra adjusted the controls, her voice low and calm despite the chaos outside. "Council frequencies are open. They're demanding we identify ourselves." "Put them through," Jace said. A holographic projection filled the cabin, an officer in gleaming silver armor, his face hidden behind a visor. "This is High Marshal Torren of Galactic Security Command. Identify your vessel and explain your presence in restricted space." Lyra straightened. "Commissioner Lyra in Elysian Diplomatic Corps, registration code Alpha 712. Accompanying me are rescued human captives from the Morix sector. We are requesting immediate protection and medical clearance." The Marshal paused. "We've received fragments of a distress transmission, something about illegal collection and a Vexel ambassador." "Confirm." Lyra's gaze flicked to Jace. "Confirmed," she said firmly. "Ambassador Vesk of the Vexel Consortium violated multiple Concord laws. We have evidence and witnesses." A murmur sounded off-screen. Then the Marshal's tone changed, lower, more cautious. "Stand by. You'll be escorted to our flagship for debriefing." The projection vanished. Jace exhaled slowly. "So, we just hand them the evidence, and that's it?" Lyra looked at him, her expression unreadable. "That's what should happen." But Vesk had allies, powerful ones. "The Council doesn't like admitting its ambassadors can be criminals." "Then we make them listen," Jace said. The wisp gave a faint musical note, like agreement. Hours later, the humans and Lyra stood inside the Council flagship's central chamber, a cathedral of glass and light that overlooked a planet glowing blue beneath. Rows of alien officials filled the balconies above, their murmurs echoing through the air. High Marshal Torren stood at the center, imposing, precise, his armor gleaming under the hall's radiant light. "Commissioner N," he began, "your report is extraordinary. You accuse an ambassador of the Vexel Consortium of sentient trafficking and genetic experimentation, crimes that carry universal sanction. You understand the weight of this claim?" "I do," Lyra said steadily. And I have proof. She activated her wrist console. Holograms flickered to life. Images of stasis pods, recordings of Vesk's taunting words, and video from the Death Dome trial. The room filled with gasps as the council saw Vesk's cruelty laid bare. Torin turned to Jace. And you are the human called Jace Orion? Yes, sir. The marshal studied him. You were enslaved, then purchased by Commissioner N? That's right, Jace said evenly. 6 months in a mine, then traded like cargo. And yet you fought to save not just yourself, but her, and even the creature that helped you escape. The marshal gestured toward the wisp, which floated near Jace's shoulder, its light soft but steady. Why? Jace hesitated only a moment. Because it was the right thing to do. Doesn't matter what species we are. You don't leave people behind. The chamber was silent. Even the hum of the air filters seemed to pause. Torin nodded slowly. A curious philosophy for a species that has only just entered the galactic stage. Lyra's voice broke the stillness. It's precisely why they belong here. Humanity adapts faster than any race we've seen. They endure. They protect. Even when no one protects them. A ripple of murmurs swept the balconies. Some skeptical, some approving. But before Torin could speak again, the lights flickered. The holograms cut out. A distorted voice crackled through the chamber speakers. You think me gone? Jace froze. Vesk. The voice turned sharp with fury. Did you really believe I'd die so easily? You forget who taught the council how to hide their sins. You forget who built their systems. On the command deck, officers shouted. Screens filled with warnings. External sensors detected a signal, something massive emerging from hyperspace. Lyra's eyes widened. He's here. He brought another ship. The projection of High Marshal Torin snapped to his guards. All security units, prepare intercept. Protect the council chamber. Jace turned to Lyra. He's coming for us. For the evidence. And he'll kill anyone in his way, she said. The lights dimmed again. The floor rumbled. Outside the panoramic windows, a monstrous vessel dropped out of warp, sleeker, darker, larger than the last. Its hull shimmered with crimson energy. Lyra's voice trembled for the first time. That's not just a ship. That's a war barge. A Vexel dreadnought. The room exploded into chaos. In the hangar, soldiers raced to battle stations. Sirens blared. The council flagship's defense grid powered up, but Vesk's war barge was already charging weapons. Jace stood beside Lyra, watching through the reinforced glass as the massive ship blotted out the stars. He wants to erase everything, Jace said. Us, the proof, even the wisp. Lyra's hand brushed against his arm, grounding him. Then we make sure the galaxy sees him first. How? She looked at the wisp. By broadcasting his attack live. Every ship, every channel. Jace nodded slowly. Turn his revenge into his confession. They ran for the control room, dodging panicked diplomats and soldiers. The wisp followed close, glowing brighter as they moved. Sparks rained from the ceiling. Another tremor hit as the dreadnought fired a warning shot that grazed the council ship's shields. They reached the command deck. Lyra slammed her hand on the override console. Security feed to public transmission now. The comms officer hesitated. That's against protocol. Protocol won't matter if we're vaporized. Jace snapped. Do it. The officer obeyed. Across the galaxy, thousands of screens flickered to life. Stations, outposts, ships, even civilian networks. Every being watching saw the truth. The massive Vexel warship bearing down on a council vessel filled with unarmed diplomats, and a single human standing in front of the viewport, defiant. Vesk's face appeared on the dreadnought's holographic display, rage distorting his features. You think the galaxy cares about your pity show? He hissed. They'll fear you, human. They'll cage you like they cage everything new. Jace stared straight into the feed. Maybe, but they'll remember who struck first. He turned to Lyra. Tell them to open the outer hangar doors. Why? Because I've got one last move. She met his eyes and understood. The wisp. Jace nodded. It's the only thing that can stop him. Lyra's hand shook. You'll never make it back alive. He smiled faintly. Humanity's used to long odds. The wisp floated closer, its glow shifting from gold to white. It hummed softly, a sound that felt like both sorrow and strength. Hey, little one, Jace said quietly. Time to show the galaxy what you can do. He stepped into the hangar, the void beyond shimmering. Lyra's voice echoed behind him. Jace. He turned back, eyes steady. If this works, tell them, we're not just survivors. Then he launched himself into the black. The wisp followed, a comet of light. Space erupted in brilliance. The wisp unleashed a wave of energy that rippled through the void, pure frequency, bending matter and light. It tore into Vesk's war barge like a sunburst. Circuits overloaded. Shields failed. Fire spread across the vessel's hull, splitting it open from bow to stern. The explosion lit the galaxy. Inside the Council ship, the transmission continued, broadcasting every second. The image of a single human and a glowing creature standing against a dreadnought burned across 1,000 worlds. Then the light faded. Silence. Lyra stared into the empty stars, tears streaking down her face. Jace, she whispered. The wisp's light was gone. So was he. But moments later, a soft chime sounded from the comms. Static filled the speakers. Then, faint but unmistakable, Jace's voice broke through. Still here. You're gonna need a pickup. Lyra laughed, a sound half relief, half disbelief. Impossible, she whispered. Guess humans don't know when to quit, Jace said. The bridge erupted in cheers. Across the galaxy, billions of viewers watched, transfixed. Humanity, the unknown species, had stood against an empire and lived. The light of dawn spilled across the vast chamber of the Galactic Concord Hall. Massive crystalline walls shimmered with shifting colors as delegates from hundreds of worlds filled their seats. The air hummed with tension. The story of what had happened, of the human who stood against a dreadnought, had already spread like wildfire through every system. At the center of the hall stood Jace Orion. His uniform was torn, patched with bandages. The faint glow of the Lemurian wisp floated near his shoulder, brighter than ever. Behind him stood Lyra N., no longer in diplomatic black, but in silver and white, formal colors of truth. High Marshal Torin raised his voice, echoing through the chamber. The Council recognizes Commander Jace Orion of Earth and Commissioner Lyra N. of Alice. This tribunal convenes to decide the fate of the Vexel Consortium and to determine humanity's standing among the stars. A hush fell. Every species present turned its gaze to the human. Some faces were curious, others fearful, none indifferent. Jace swallowed once, then stepped forward. I didn't come here for revenge, he said, voice calm but carrying across the vast room. I came for justice, for the people Vesk stole, for the ones who didn't make it out of those cages, and for everyone who believes power means ownership. A low murmur spread among the crowd. Jace continued, you call us primitive. Maybe we are. But when someone takes what we love, we fight, not for domination, but for survival. That's what humanity is. We endure. We protect. We learn. He turned to face the Council's great ring. You've seen what happens when one of your own breaks your laws. You've seen what happens when silence protects monsters. If the Concord is to mean anything, then today, you prove it. Torin's gaze lingered on him a long moment before he spoke. The evidence is undeniable. Ambassador Vesk's crimes against sentient life are proven. His surviving fleet is in custody, his assets seized. The Vexel Consortium is hereby expelled from the Concord and stripped of all privileges. The chamber erupted in shouts, some of protest, others of approval. Torin raised a hand, restoring silence. As for Earth, he continued, the Council has decided to grant humanity provisional diplomatic recognition. Earth will be offered a seat within the Concord, to observe, learn, and, in time, contribute. For a moment, Jace didn't move. The words sank in slowly, like light warming frozen ground. Lyra's hand touched his arm, gentle and steady. You did it, she whispered. He smiled faintly. We did. Later, as the chamber emptied, Jace stood on the balcony overlooking the capital city below. Towers of crystal rose into the clouds. Ships drifted between them like fireflies. It was beautiful and still strange. Lyra joined him, her violet eyes soft in the golden light. The Council will expect much from you now, she said. Humanity's every move will be watched. Jace leaned on the railing. Good. Then maybe they'll learn something too. The wisp floated between them, its glow reflecting in both their eyes. What happens now? Jace asked quietly. Now, Lyra said with a small smile. Now you rest. Then we build something better. He looked out at the horizon. Funny. For a while, I thought I'd die out there. Now I'm standing in the middle of a galaxy that finally knows we exist. Lyra tilted her head. And what do you think they see when they look at you? Jace thought for a long moment. Then he said, hope. Hours later, aboard the repaired council ship Astria, Jace sat in the dim glow of the observation deck. The stars outside drifted past like embers. Commander Reyes and the other rescued humans were asleep in the next compartment. The Wisp hovered near the glass, tracing slow circles in the air. Jace watched it with a faint smile. Guess you're coming with me, huh? The creature pulsed once, as if nodding. He leaned back, closing his eyes. For the first time in months, there was peace. But peace never lasted long. The console beside him beeped softly. An encrypted signal flashed across the display. Source unknown, language human. Jace frowned and opened it. A message appeared in glowing text. Earth Fleet Command, classified signal. Long-range probe Prometheus returning from Deep Sector 9. Contact lost with automated exploration unit. Final transmission attached. He tapped the file. Static filled the screen for a moment, then cleared. A single line of text appeared. They're not gone. They're coming. Jace stared at the words, his breath slowing. Then he looked out into the deep black beyond the stars. Somewhere out there, something was moving. The Wisp drifted closer, its glow brightening as if it, too, could feel the distant tremor. Lyra's voice came softly from the doorway. Another storm? Jace smiled faintly without turning. Maybe, but this time, we'll be ready. He stood, facing the window as the stars stretched before him. The galaxy had seen what humans could do. It had watched one man and one light stand against an empire. Now, as the next shadow rose on the horizon, the universe would learn something new. That humanity wasn't just back. They were here to stay.